maybe I just want to just bring up like this idea of ma'at, like what is actually connected to for the people listening. That it is truth, balance, order, harmony, law, morality, and justice. And it said here also Ma'at was the goddess who personified these concepts and regulated the stars, seasons, and the actions of mortals and the deities, who had brought order from chaos at the moment of creation. And they're just like, yeah, also this essence of like working together with nature and with the world in it, really. And a lot of this I think stems from like this idea of ma'at and also the connection to like the apis cult. But maybe like I want to leave it on that note for now, and let's see what yeah, started with that first.
Maat also reminds me a lot of the sense of order, even in Greek tragedy, and also you see in many religions of the world, like the female nature of fate. Like there is a fate that is attributed to a person because of a certain kind of doing or a certain direction of life.
So in a sense, you're saying much like the three Norns in that sense, like from Norse tradition, something along that line.
Yes, like choosers in the sense of the fates of men, and also to a different point, although I don't know if this applies to ancient Egyptian culture, the sense also of retribution and passing judgment. I think there is the scale of Ma'at in the underworld when I think Anubis is balancing the heart of a person dying with a feather to see if they were virtuous or not during their lifetime. The scales of Ma'at.
Yeah, that's true about like Anubis and the scales, and I think like yeah, he would weigh if like if the heart was as light as the feather. The feather represented truth, and the feather was like the feather of that like Ma'at is also represented with like she wears that on her head, and that's the feather of truth. And yeah, and that's then weighed. And if the heart is too heavy, then it gets fed to a crocodile in the myth. And indeed, there's like this sense of judgment there too in it. But like their sense of ma'at and that like connected to everything, kind of like the social, but also I guess the environment and many aspects of their culture and how they were like, I guess, interacting with the world.
Yes, I remember this exact part, and I think also the crocodile or hippopotamus, this chimera type of being, Hamid, is also like a female sense. She symbolizes the jaws of chaos in a sense, and it is the final act of judgment. If someone, yes, has indeed heavy heart, they are thrown to her, their heart. And it reminds me also about ultimate distraction, even in the afterlife, a sense of how Christian hell was later depicted.
I think from what I've read, I think it was that they had to spend like a certain amount of time in the underworld, where the ones that had the light heart would go on to, I guess, something that would like later in Greece be something like the like Elysium, like the fields, the fields of reeds, I think it is, and the ones that have a heavy heart, they needed to go through the underworld and be there for some time. But it wasn't an eternal thing, from what I remember. But like I guess something they went through, and then they could I guess move on and maybe reincarnate. So I think it was connected to like certain lessons that they had to learn.
Yeah, makes me think of like she was probably connected to truth too. So it's like if your heart is aligned with truth, you're not in illusions about yourselves or the world or how everything connects. Then you can like move on and live in abundance, pretty much. But if not, if you are in delusion or detached from the world and your environment and your community, then you kind of are then in the underworld, so to speak, in a sense, because at least to me it makes sense in that way to think about it.
Yeah, I really do think so, and I think like what you bring up here with regarding the environment ties very very well in also with like I guess the idea of what I really feel is kind of like proto permaculture, kind of like this idea that they had, like how they were working with nature, with the river, how they were waiting for the flood, the Akhed, then they let it waited till it would go away, Peret, and it would leave the slip behind, and then they would plant, and then it would be Shemu. And then they had like minimal like what they needed to do, and they had like these orchards of like trees higher up, and they and these like ditch systems that they had, these walls and like these different like things they built to really like help the water to flow in it. And they also respected the hippos and the animals in the river, the ecosystem, a lot too. So I think that's one important thing in like I guess Ma'at too, and I feel like it's like connected to like an older base of animism too. But yeah.
Yes, and in a way, like even though the flood can be destructive, they understand that in the long run, it is going to provide them with their wealth and the prosperity that the Egyptian lands were proud for. Even their names, it means fertile land, or even black land, like the land that has soil full of argillus, like it has sand from the river that makes it more fertile. And to a point, that's why they revered animals like this. You see, a hippo is a very dangerous animal, but then they have it in high esteem in a way to appease it as a sense. The crocodile as well. The canines that were near the graves, they also appeased them in a sense and made them into protectors of the dead and the ones who keep their bodies after dying instead of scavenging them. I think the same sense that happened with Nile passed on to other calamities in life, and they tried, in a sense, to leverage them this way.
I think it's interesting that they regarded animals even as divine in a way. And like with the river, they found a way to work together with it by building these I guess walls that would direct the water into their fields of agriculture where they wanted to grow things, and they had different kinds of crops probably too that kept the water then there once it came. and like use that flood to their advantage instead of being overwhelmed by it. They directed it, and that made things a lot easier for them. And then they actually had more time for other things.
Yes, and compared to modern Egypt, if you consider that they made the dam, as well as most modern civilizations, we are making dams to tame the water. We don't redirect the flow in order to keep its vitality, so we made it less fertile and less helpful for the land.
I think you're right. It's kind of sad.
Yeah, I feel like also to bring up, they also had these like other special places too. They had like these swamps and the marshes. They would like hunt there too, but like they kept these like I guess these areas which they just wouldn't touch. Those were like sacred areas for the hippos and for the crocodiles. And I mean the hippos. Kind of in a way we're helping them too, because I mean they make these paths and they help to like spread the water out in a way too, to help with the flow and regarding the water. But also all of these animals, they were one of the reason why there's all this fertility in the river. In that what with the parrot then flew that came over the slip. It's all the stuff that was in there from all of these animals too. So that kind of like adds to the fertility of the area. And they had all these orchids too, and like and trees and all kinds of different plants, and from what I've read into it, they really like planted like that so that they would have like the least effort to do things that like it very wet closer to the river, things that like it a bit more dry further away from the river, so that then you already have like proper depending on like the location, the proper like flow of like where the plants already like to be, so you don't have to unnecessarily water the plants, or like, oh no, my plants are getting too dry, what am I going to do now, kind of thing. So you didn't have to like so they worked with the I guess the valley of the river and the land, instead of like forcing this or like plants somewhere there. And I have to do all kinds of things, and I think it's kind of genius because it allowed them to like build all of these temples, and like and that's another big part of it too. It's like they that really helped them too in the long run. But these temples and what they did there too. So it's like, it's kind of like this, like I guess this understanding with the river of the Nile and like the Ma'at that ties into it is kind of the foundation of it, that like everything rests upon. For the entire episode, please check out the description or click on the end screen. And maybe see you next time.